This playthrough is rated M for mature.
Let's be a fly and bug everyone. Greetings and salutations, viewers. Vauldemare back here with another episode of Shadowrun Hong Kong. In the last episode, we finished the last episode that had to deal with the elven genetics, and we decided to say screw everyone and took the thing for ourselves, and hopefully we could get a payday for it. But before we do that, let's talk to everyone in town and see how everyone's doing these days. Ambrose, got anything to say? Ambrose lies limp in his wheelchair while his spider drone tinkers delicately on a huge bionic lower leg, which appears to be attached to a dismembered troll thigh. Ambrose reanimates as you draw near. Wiggles, I'm doing some delicate work here, just reaching a good point to pause, actually. Okay, what's up? What happened with Karen? She betrayed me. Ambrose folds one arm tensely across his chest and scowls. She left me here. He nods towards a small frame picture of his impressive home-built computer. And it's Karen. Spet the picture. The picture of a serious-looking Filipino woman in a black tank top. Her neck, shoulders, and arms are chiseled with lean muscle and spotted with tattoos. She looks vaguely annoyed at the camera. Semper Fidelis is visible in Gothic script tattooed across her chest. A trans-Catholic rosary hangs on the picture, a crucifix with a delicate Kali yantra overlaying the center. In the picture, the rosary is visible around the woman's neck. Karen quit Shadowrun in 2. Supposedly, she made a full recovery. She started delivering for smugglers. She's my main conduit for drugs and cyber. Ambrose shakes his head gently. She just stopped caring about anything. Maybe it was the brain injury, but I don't think so. I think everything she's done started catching up with her. I could see it in her eyes. Take your time, I'm listening. Ambrose rubs his mouth and the remainder of his hand. He pauses. She couldn't sleep. She wouldn't take meds for it. I think she didn't want to get better. One day she was here, we were behind the curtain, and I went out front to talk to someone. Ambrose presses one of his remaining fingers into the side of his neck. She took her butterfly knife and set the point right here. She pushed the blade right through and out along her trachea, sliced through everything outside of that, severed her own carotid artery, just like she was removing a sentry. That was it. Ambrose stops. He holds his hand over his mouth for a long moment. When he continues, his voice is thick. She did it right there on the operating table. There wasn't even a thump. That was Karen, efficient, ruthless, considerate in a weird way. Could never live by her own moral commandments. Couldn't ever ask for what she needed. Ambrose crosses himself. Requisites cum dies, Karen Santos, Kali Mater, Magna Jesus Shit Christi, Swami Noster. He gives you a sidelong glance. I'm not trans-Catholic. Hell, I'm not into religion at all, but I try to honor her in that way. So you can ask more about it or at least be general, or if you have etiquette, academia, you could say, complete the prayer for the dead and dying. Ambrose silently bows his head as you recite a string of words in Sanskrit and Latin, invoking Karen to rejoin the trans-Catholic concept of universal oneness, the Amma Brahma of the Holy Ghost. Ambrose joins you in the final recitation. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Amen. His eyes are shining when he looks back at you. Thanks, Wiggles. I never learned it in full, even though she said it over me every day when I was all messed up. Ambrose looks silently at Karen's picture, eventually turns back to you. Ripshot's dead, my old hood in Chicago is in the containment zone, and Karen, well, she was my best friend. Ever. I'm the last man standing. So here I am. I think I survived for a reason, so I can make other people's lives better. That's what I'm trying to do. Well, that's what should make it, right? Yeah, I feel it for you, Ambrose. Here I am in Hong Kong doing what I can. Seems like you're doing okay, despite all the wild, crazy-ass shit it sounds like you've gotten yourself into. He winks. But I didn't hear nothing. Far as I know, you sweep floors and wash dishes. Here, you want a drink? We should have a drink. A robotic arm flings open a cabinet, clatters inside it, and swings across the room, clutching a sapphire blue bottle. This is Lampanog. It's a Filipino coconut vodka. Have a shot with me? Sure, I'll have one. The robotic arm pours 2 shots. It swings one over you. Ambrose gingerly takes the other in his ruined hand and holds it up. To fallen friends. To fallen friends. You swallow the shots together. The strong raisin-flavored liquor burns going down. Ambrose looks around in silence, then his gaze settles on you lonely. I used to be a real piece of work, Wiggles. When I got busted up for the first time in my life, I had to rely on other people. Broken, hunted, and close to death. Not so different from how you showed up, except for the death part. Someone here owed Karen a favor. The people of Heoi took care of us. Now I think if I did so much harm in my past life, how much healing can I do in this one? Ambrose sighs and clutches his shot glass against his chest, like a religious talisman. He looks thoughtfully at you. And it's more than I've told anyone in a long time. Does a lot good, Wiggles. Thanks. Well, Rochter's life is bitty. Better wrap this up. Thanks, Ambrose. It was a privilege to listen. I'm glad to know you, Wiggles. And if you drink with Ambrose, or at least hear his story and thank him, you get a karma point for that. So, yay. What are you doing? Is that someone's leg? It will be. It's a fat-grown biological upper on a cybernetic lower. I'm merging the two together. It's going to give this poor guy the upper leg he wants back, with the lower leg he needs. His voice is hushed. You're interested, huh? Okay, check this out. I'll be right back. Ambrose goes limp. A half-dozen robotic arms suddenly pulse in a ballistic surge of activity, working on the leg, bristling with needles, scalpels, forceps, micro-solders, glue, and various other tools. For several minutes, there's no sound but quiet clicking and the hum of machinery. When the work is complete, the slender robotic arms draw back. They hover near the ceiling around the operating area, like giant attentive stick bugs. Ambrose's eyes flutter back open. He continues talking, hardly skipping a beat. This guy works in the tunnels, with his feet in sewage all day. He's got some kind of flesh-eating trench rot. Went right up his leg. Nearly killed him. He had to amputate at the hip. I'm giving him his upper leg back, but using a chrome lower leg so it won't happen again. That must cost a lot for a sewer worker. Yeah, it would. That's why I'm not charging him. Ambrose shrugs as if suddenly embarrassed. Someone else grew the meat leg. I can't do that. I had this old prosthetic lying around already. It's a beater, but it'll last for years if he takes care of it. Hey, so what can I do for you? Gotta go, Ambrose. See you later. Cheers, Wiggles. Talk to you later. Alright, and if you, after doing this, a few things pop up on the, his thing. The photos, news clippings, and mementos posted around the clinic are visibly consistent with Ambrose's story. Through the general decorations, you can trace his journey. A bunch of aging Chicago photographs, Seattle, the ocean from what looks like a container ship, Osaka, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, the residents of Heoi, plastered over everything else. If you have a spellcasting or conjuring, you can use astral perception to examine it. A sense of warmth immediately washes over you, the clinic overflowing with a sense of connection and belonging. Ephemeral astral cords snake through it, coming off Ambrose as streaming out through the doorway, probably to other residents of Heoi. Many of the pictures and mementos have gone gray, as if they hold no meaning for anyone. Strangely as the ones from Chicago and the trip across North America that have faded. Usually the artifacts that people keep from their deep past are vibrant with emotion and meaning. In contrast, the pictures of people in Heoi glow with feeling. The picture of Ambrose's old runner comrade, Karen, shines brightly. It's almost incandescent. A gleaming cord of connection runs between it and Ambrose. The picture of the young man in the Mustang blazes like a star. Ambrose's courting to it is far more intense than is usual between someone and a picture from their youth. The operating table is swayed in a hollow of warm feelings and pleasantness, as if much healing has occurred here. Mild toxicity also swirls around it, typical for a street clinic installing combat where bitter feelings of lost humanity, revenge, ambition, and folly. There are occasionally surges of something darker, feels bloody, dirty. It's similar to how it felt in the Mahjong parlor when Kindly was interrogating the undercover HKPF officer. Keep receiving. Beneath the warm hollow and its toxicity, there's something subtle, but very, very painful. It's almost invisible, but subtly etched into the deep astral. In that scar, the sense of sadness and longing is so intense it's almost nauseating. Ambrose himself glows, his disfigured meridans running with light. His head is covered in tangled astral mucus and cluttered with cyberware, but his eyes glow bright and clear. His heart pulses with scintillating light. Beneath his heart, his solar plexus is a sickening black hole. The feeling that comes from it is chilling, self-hatred, guilt. It's bottomless. Inspect the photos. Many are photos of Chicago landmarks, of street races. Interspersed with them are obviously personal photos of Caucasian and African-American metahumans at a bar in front of a fountain, working on a car and so on. A young man who must be Ambrose appears in few of them, but no other person is repeated in the photographs. Young Ambrose doesn't appear in any of the pictures with recognizable landmarks. Look through the general decorations. Most of the big pictures are of old Chicago or classic Motorhead Americana, 20th century gas stations, desert highways, Devil's Tower, motorcycle gangs. Closer inspection reveals a section full of personal photos, recordings what may have been Ambrose's trip from Chicago through the western UCAS, the Sioux Nation, and the Salish Seed Council to Seattle. There's even a photo of ruins of Grand Coulee Dam. Once it was the largest power station in the old USA. Now it's breached. The Columbia River roars through its jagged concrete throat, wild and cataclysmic. If you have Intelligence 5, you can inspect it more, but since I don't have Intelligence 5, we'll have to ignore that. Alright. And then finally, we can look at the wall over here. Again, I mean, we looked at the very beginning of the game or whatever, but the mess of notes, mementos, photos, and paperwork on the wall behind the computer reflect the daily work of Ambrose's life and hints at the story he's told you. A framed photo shows what must be Ambrose as a young man back in his Chicago days, standing proudly in front of a vintage Ford Mustang. Examine the picture. It looks like a young Ambrose. It's hard to tell for sure with all his scarring and cosmetic reconstruction now. The young man definitely has Ambrose's big cheesy grin. He can't be more than 25 years old, but already has a thick handlebar mustache. And if you have Drone Control 6, you can look at the Mustang. If you have Biotech, you can look at it, scrutinize it. But since I don't have any, I have to ignore it. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have those. All it does is just gives you a bit more details about it. Nothing major if you don't want to. So, all right, let's check with Claude ABA. I think the only people who don't really have anything to say is like Law. I think has only like a line of dialogue, and Matthew I don't think has anything, but I'll talk to him anyway, just to make sure. Freddy looks sullen at the club front entrance, and sullen on the young troll takes from the form of careless indifference for the force he uses to pat down and propel forward the patrons into the club. Welcome to Club 88. No killing, no faulting, no sex trade. Careful, Freddy, you'll give someone a concussion. Or a broken rib, or a dislocated shoulder. Fuck it. Well, it doesn't matter. Things might be a bit better if I drove everyone off and shut down this place. Can't be forced to stay a bouncer if there's no burns to bounce, rot, or bumps. And it might just force the rest of them to take a hard look in the mirror. My ma couldn't stop worrying about bills and inventories and all that crap. Callum could finally get out of here and save his own skin. My bar could go back to doing what he was born to do and change his mind about me doing it too. What's the deal with Callum? Well, you haven't figured it out. You've talked with him, right? He doesn't belong here any more than I do, but for different reasons. Callum's not hard enough to survive in a place like this. If this city doesn't kill him one night, let him drinking away his worries probably will before long. Funny thing is, I thought that once I got out and made my fortune, I could set Callum up someplace nice. But that's not going to happen now, thanks to my bar. Rather see us both waste our way here. Your father found out about your plans? Yeah, he heard me talking to someone about how I might link up with the Hell Thunder crew. He got real mad, dragged me aside like he was trying to pull my damn arm off. Thought we might come to blows. It'd be the first time since I was a kid, and I could probably kill him now, if I'm not careful. But he just wanted to yell at me. So much the better for his health. He told me I was living in a fantasy land. Told me I wasn't cut out for the loft. I was looking to lead. He said it would get me killed, Pa. Well, this part, he asked me why I can't be more like my brother. Just goes to show little he knows about us. Callum isn't even cut out for the cozy life we have here in the club. I'll leave you be. Yeah, it seems like the things are getting worse for the family of trolls. Who knows what'll happen next. And who do we have here? We have Felicia Day. I mean, Eos. A red-headed elf is hunched over her table, her eyes firmly locked on a disassembled micro-drone she has spread out across it. A name tag on her jumpsuit collar says Eos in bold letters. After a few moments, she sighs heavily and mutters under her breath, "Oh, come on. Don't tell me I lost the EMC transducer." Eos frantically begins searching the area around the table, methodically sifting through the cigarette butts, stale gum, and orange peels. She squeals with excitement as she finds a small circuit. Gotcha. There's a relief and a half. She places it gingerly in one of her pockets. So as she turns her attention back towards the table, she spares you a quick glance. What's your step? I don't think anything else fell off the table, but I won't know for sure until I get this back together. Are you sure a bar is the best place to do drone repair? No, but the guy who lives next door to me is doing some kind of heavy-duty electrical work. It's filling my apartment with static electricity. Didn't want to risk frying this little guy's guts. She leans over, peering closely at some particular part. Oh crap, this is gonna take more work than I thought. Oh well, another time. Sweeping the drone pieces up into a pile with her hand, she scoops them into one of her jumpsuit's many pockets. She turns to face you, giving you her full attention. You're Kindly's hired help, aren't you? The name's Eos. Yeah, I gathered that from the name tag. The elf flicks a nail against the tag, grinning crookedly. Some jackass at the public laundromat keeps trying to walk off with my stuff, so I've been writing my name on things. Makes me feel a bit like a kid, but I don't know to keep buying new armor at least. Nice to meet you. Glad to get your name. It's a lot nicer than that foreigner, which seems to do what most of the locals call you. She pulls out a business card made of stamped sheet metal and puts it on the table. We're in the same kind of work, you know. You ever need a rigger, look me up. Very affordable rates. I guarantee results. Except I have to pay for you, and I don't want to do that. Why'd you become a rigger? I've always loved cars. Old ones, new ones, even the beaters that are falling apart. You have to hold together with baling water and chewing gum. I like drones too, but my first love was a 2034 Alfa Romeo Farinata. Drove that thing until the wheels fell off. Eos grins crookedly, propping her chin up on her fist. Did some work with the Atlanta film industry at first as a stunt driver. That paid for the first vehicle control rig. It also got me into the drone rigging, since smaller projects usually needed camera riggers for aerial shots. Fun times, but the pay in the CAS isn't like it is in Hollywood. It's all small scale stuff. Film work's a long way from being a Shadowrunner. Sure is, but when your mom gets sick and you can't afford to pay your medical bills, you start looking for alternatives. You turn to the shadows. You find out there's all kinds of people who want getaway drivers, especially if the drivers also have drones fitted with high caliber weapons. I started to make a name for myself, took some jobs for the Comanche Mafia, smuggling things in and out of the Pueblo Corporate Council. Eos spreads her hands helplessly, grinning. And here I am. Once I got a taste of the adrenaline, I never looked back. Too much of a rush out there on the edge. How'd you get your street name? Honestly, it's my sunny disposition. I'm not even kidding. The elf giggles to herself for a moment, head falling back as she stares towards the ceiling. I had this friend in Vegas, a real rich old money type from Nick. He'd fallen on hard times, mostly because he couldn't play cards for shit. Great fixer though, because everybody loved him. He's the one who gave it to me. Eos, he said to me, your new street name should be Eos, because whenever you go, it's like they're breaking down. It's like the breaking dawn in my office. Could have charmed bees out of their hives, I swear to God. Last I heard, he'd finally gotten enough money to pay his debts and get the hell back to Europe. Sure hope he did. I like to imagine him sitting on the Adriatic, sipping a Negroni and reading a spy novel. You have a preferred kind of job? Eos gets a smile that spreads from ear to ear, and she leans over to whisper in a conspiratorial tone. Heists. Anytime we can get in under a ticking clock, racing against time, and getting away in a cloud of burning rubber, that's where that's where it's at for me. One of the best jobs I've ever had was running a branch in Frankfurter Bankwehr in Nice. The cops were hot on our ass as soon as we got out of the vault, because the Decker had been dumped from the system before he could squash the alarm. So we rush outside. Right, our getaway car is a Shoka RK3 that I'd modded up with a supercharger and a kinetic energy recovery system. Didn't look like much, but man, the car could haul. We burned through those French streets like we were right out of an old Frankenmeyer movie. Glorious getaway. I prefer a quiet exit myself. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather not have the cops on us at all, but if I had to run away from him, might as well be a fun drive, right? Here, Eos. Tapping a finger to her brow, Eos grins. See ya, don't be afraid to call. Nope. Nothing against her character, just your party members are fine, and they don't cost anything, so. And paying for them does not make them better than your companions, it just gives you another option, that's all it is. It's not like you pay him and you get a higher level character or something like that, you know. Henry Kai Fob paces a rut into the worn floor of Club 88. He wrings his hands and looking every bit like one trying desperately to hold on to something but failing with every attempt. He's oblivious to everything around him. Snap out of it, sailor. Oh, what? Oh, saw. Didn't see you there. I was just thinking about. What about? Lots of things. The past, the here and now, what is and what might have been. I think about how many sailors ever drown every year and how I never once came close. I think about how it might have been for Ermine if I had. Lots of things have been preying on my mind lately. Last time you mentioned an incident, can you ever speak about it? Truth is, I wanted to talk about it. Needed to talk about it for a long time. I was a first mate by then on a big rescue and salvage tug. We were streaming out into the Pacific, down towards Sapien. A big container ship had lost power and was drifting. When we were 2 days out from Hong Kong, we picked up a distress call. Our captain told us to ignore it, quoted some whoosing corporate gibberish, and ordered our rigger to change course to avoid it. Truth is, we all knew why. That container ship was probably losing whoosing a million yen in lost revenue for every hour it drifted. I don't know why I did, but I refused. Maybe it was on account of being a family man, maybe I was just in a mood, but I couldn't leave those people behind. I demanded that the captain send us to assist, and when he didn't, I knocked him out. Well, everyone followed me. When we reached the signal, we found a small passenger ship, well away from its regular route. No response to hail, so I went aboard with a small group. What we found was a horror story show. Men, women, children, brutally butchered, but not outright killed. Some had died from their injuries, yes, but most were just missing an arm, a leg, or a foot. They wouldn't have lasted much longer, but they could have been saved. And that's when we realized it was a trap. The time it would have taken us to stabilize and move those people would have given the ones responsible a chance they needed to take our boat. They meant to lure in a bigger ship. I grabbed my guys and we got out of there. At full steam, I left those people to die. They knew it as we were going. Their eyes have haunted me ever since. So that was the end of my career. Wujing let me go nice and quiet, and with the hush package, the law of the sea still applies. You've got to help ships in distress where you can. Wujing didn't want anyone to know the captain of their rescue or tugboat had tried to violate that. Harebrained thinks I retired for the boys and her. She wouldn't be able to look at me if she knew the truth. How are things between you and Harebrained? Not great, to be honest. It's true that what the voice in my dreams has been saying. Harebrained doesn't need me. I'm useless around here. Better that I just stay out of her way, but it's more than that. We had our share of problems over the years. My being absent for long stretches, her being left alone, fending for herself while I was away. It wasn't easy for her, and I think she sometimes sought comfort elsewhere. I don't know who, and I don't know exactly when, but I can't help thinking it. I look at Callum sometimes. I always love him. I always wonder, did he get cucked? It's hardly be the worst thing that ever happened to me, but even so, I'll leave you be. Who knows? Hope not. Callum has calmed greatly since last time. He has once again oscillated into his more somber, brooding mood. He looks almost professional as he conducts a little business with some rail-thin gangers aching for their fix. Back again, I see. What's it about this place? The music, the sweating bodies, or is it my messed up family that keeps bringing you back here? I'm not much of a dancer. Just an excuse to poke around with you. Well, if you can keep it on the down low, I got news I've done to share with somebody. You run a top so good with secrets, what? Let's hear it. So I snuck off behind my mother's back. Can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth. No grown man should have had to say that. But that's what I had to do, and that's what I did. I finally met this guy who wants to be my benefactor. His name is Matthew Todd. He's a human guy. He rolled up on the dock in a speedboat with guards and everything. Real slick dude. Like classy, powerful, classy. He asked me to call him Matt. Isn't that great? I hopped in and off we went. We had dinner together. It's a little strange, but I'm still glad I went. The things he told me. What kind of things? For one, he said he remembers my mother. Apparently he knew her well. In fact, he said he knew her better than anyone else back at Balhu. And that's partly how he came to know me, I guess. But the way he talked about my mother, it was like, I don't know, there's something between them. He had this wistful look on his face and a smirk when he said her name. Probably the same kind of look on my face right now, like he was keeping a wonderful secret. I don't remember my father ever looking that way with my mother. I've been wondering about a lot of things. How's it weird? It got weird at the end, like there was more he wanted to say, but he couldn't. Maybe he didn't want to get my hopes up too high in case the whole arrangement didn't pan out. Not sure. The strangest part far though was when the security detail busted out our table and bagged everything we had touched. Glasses, plates, utensils, napkins. Matt said it was a standard precaution for men in his position. Even the smallest genetic sample could be used to subvert biometric security systems, or it could be used in ritual magic. Never really thought about that before, but these are just the kinds of things I think I could learn from the guy. So I'll leave you be. Yeah, looks like he's getting in deep. Perhaps that's it. Perhaps Ermine and that guy slept together at one point. Ooh, scandalous. Who knows? The dread creeping through Heoi has permeated even the induced euphoria of Club 88. Ermine herself is not immune, looking to be caught between the need for rest and inability to find the peace necessary for it. It's not a good time, Wiggles. That's usually when I get involved. I'm not asking you to get involved, but something is wrong with these people. And me. I don't know about the rest of them, but I'm dead on my feet. Slept a solid 6 hours, but it's hardly restful sleep. Bad dreams? Like none I've ever had before. Vivid, more real than you standing here, and the memory refuses to leave me. I was 20 years younger, young, absolutely at home in my own skin, and happy, happier than I remember ever being, positively glowing. There was a man with me. It was Henry, but not the Henry I knew. This was Henry as he might have been if he'd never goblinized. Handsome, well-dressed, perfectly human. And when he smiled, there was too many teeth, and I knew it was a lie. Then I woke up, clutching my stomach, feeling for bite marks that weren't there. I haven't been able to shake the image of that smile all day. Those teeth, they want to devour me and everything I hold dear. Still worrying about Callum in that suit. I tried to put that period of my life behind me. I tried to forget what had happened, to move past it. I had to, or else it would have destroyed our family just as it was beginning. Some truths are best left buried. I can live with the shame. It was my own stupid mistake, but should have ended there. The past should stay in the past. But this man will not be denied. He will lure Callum with promises of fortune, power, and prestige. He will offer him things I never could, just as he once did with me. Callum feels alone here, just as he did when Henry was at sea. I'll kill this man before I let him take my boy from me. I don't care who he is or what right he might claim. I suppose is why I'm not sleeping well. The dreams. Perhaps a little business will take your mind off of it. And then you can shop, but no new equipment, so. Man, oh man, I don't want to be a part of these trolls. I don't want to be a part of this soap opera, but it's an RPG, so we have to butt our nose into their business. Let's talk to this random guy, see if he has anything interesting to say. The gibbering transient wheels to face you, his eyes bulging out of his skull. He's a young man, probably in his late 30s, but his hair has gone bone white. He reaches toward you with hands hooked into claws, and his entire body begins to tremble. You see them? I know it! I can smell it on you! He reaches his hand to his face and claws at his cheeks, his fingernails digging into his flesh. The devils! The ones that are coming! And the runt that leads the pack! Another transient glances over at you. He's got into town yesterday, came in on the same boat that we did. Seemed normal enough at the time, but now he's stock raving mad. I'm not mad! His voice rises into a scream. I've seen them! They're coming! They're on their way here now! Well, tell me, calm down. What you saw was just a nightmare. It wasn't real. The devils are real! I know it! His bulging eyes dart from you to the other on the street. Spittle flies from his mouth as he speaks. They're right behind me! Always behind me! Driving me like cattle, breathing down my neck. I could smell the sting of their breath! Describe these devils to me. Tell me what they look like. His breath comes in fits and gasps. He clauses his throat, and his voice lowers to a whisper. They're hundreds. All different, but all the same. A giant with the legs of a boar, the jaw of a baboon, a woman in jade and gold with 100 blind eyes, a runt at the head of the pack, slim and beautiful, with arms like jaws and an ivory crown. Tears spill down his cheeks as he sobs piteously. They run in rivulets into gashes that he tore in his cheeks. They're all coming! I'll call you at the gate! She's always slipping through! He seizes up mid-sentence. His eyes roll back into his head and he falls to the pavement. When he hits the ground, he doesn't get up. He isn't breathing. I think he's dead. Check the man's pulse. You kneel, press your fingers to the fallen man's neck. Nothing. The transient stares down at the fallen man's body, her brow burrowed. To hell with this place. I'm getting out of here. I know that's none of my business, but you should do the same. I'd love to, but I can't. She shrugs. Your call. Best of luck. Yeah, that was messed up. I wonder what that has to do with anything. Perhaps some dreams? Maybe? Yeah, that's probably nothing. Dreams don't affect everyone. That's just strange. And bizarre. I don't believe it. As you approach Shen's boat, you spot a number of children peeking out of the below decks area. They're dressed in ratty clothing with stained and tattered shirts. All the same, they look well fed and healthy, albeit a bit grimy. As soon as they spot you, they disappear into the below decks. Shen nods to you before calling out into the depths of the boat. Make sure the bilge pump is reconnected after you re-oil it. I don't want to slowly sink to the bottom of the river because you decide to cut corners. There's no response from below. Shen simply chuckles, turning around to face you. They're not the most skilled assistants, but I like being able to keep them fed. What can I do for you? Where'd you find the kids? I didn't. They found me. Shen shrugs and grins crookedly. They heard about the tried monk who will feed kids in exchange for odd jobs. After meeting the rest of my crew, I think they got a little bit infatuated. They think I don't hear it when they play at being Spider Shen and White Ming, but I do. Should they be idolizing Triad members? Shen sneers at you, lips twisted in scorn. Who the hell are they going to look up to out here? Corpse wage slaves? Overbearing self-important rent-a-cops? At least they stand a chance of joining a triad and making something of themselves. Anything else is a pipe dream. For anybody on the outskirts, you can't move up. You can't become a citizen. You're just a body to be exploited. Spare parts, cheap labor, a medical test subject that gets kidnapped off the streets. You're a Shadowrunner. You know how it is. Fight to survive or get crushed. Shen smiles faintly. I remember what it was like to be those kids. Nobody cares if you live or die, so I told myself that when I started to make it, I'd give back to the community. That's how the triad started, you know. Self-protection and community services. If we can't help out our community, we're no better than the Megas. Here I was thinking you were a bad monk. Shen snorts. I am a bad monk. Sure, I mediate and say the sutras, but the whole vow of non-violence thing is the lesson I keep forgetting. What it comes down to, though, is that I don't care. I didn't become a monk because I was a true believer. I did it because it was a ticket out of the gutter. The skills I learned there, I can use to improve things here. Shin leans back against the cage, arms folded. That seems awfully mercenary of you. You're at the edge of the walled city, Wiggles. That's the kind of hellhole that gets created when we let the Megas get their way. I've had people moralize and preach at me about being a better person. To hell with that. She spits off the side of the boat, scowling. You know what happens to nice people who aren't rich? They get killed. They get kidnapped. They get taken advantage of and shoved in a dark hole that they can't climb out of, just because it saves a few pennies for somebody who's already has wealth beyond measure. So I figure the moral thing to do is to put an iron spike right in every one of those bastards' foreheads. The corporate bigwigs, the corrupt cops, the slave traders. I have the skills to protect my friends. I'm not ashamed to use them. And yet you stay here all the time selling whatever you sell. Get off your high horse. Anyway, that's all for now. Well, I don't know if I'd say a high horse, but you know, the whole, you know, because being bad is easy and being good is hard, then I just won't do it. You know, that type of excuse. But whatever. All right, let's see if Lai has anything to say. I don't think so, or anything major, but Lai's clearly worried. He's got a sick look, like he's been punched in the stomach. He frets about the technology palace. You know, Wiggles, thanks for talking to me. What's your standing with the Wampoa now? Wampoa? Screw those clowns. I'm an independent contractor now. Real clear arrangement. A good deal for them. They want something, they pay for it. And Law's Technology Palace is an independent territory. Law kicks a bin of spare parts, forcefully emphasizing his point. I'm starting my own tribe. The tribe of Boom. You got a tech problem? We solve it. Boom. You got garbage in your head? We tell you how it is. Boom. He snorts with a bitter satisfaction. Wampoans are a bunch of backstabbing losers. You need anything? Boom. Right now. See you later, Law. See you later, Wiggles. Watch out for yourself, carnivore. Long live the Boom. Yeah, now he's doing his own thing and not asking for things on the metadata anymore because of what happened. So, you know, we had to threaten him. We didn't want to do it. It was part of the job, so we had to do it for Kindly Chang. But if we had killed him, we could have gone the more aggressive route. But we didn't. Let's see if Matthew has anything. I don't think he does, but yeah. Reliable Matthew stands quietly, cheap suit wet with the rain, tapping his foot absently to the smooth jazz pervading the lot, a halo of cigarella smoke surrounding him. Hey, beautiful, good to see you. Let's set you up, shall we? Bye, Matthew. But yeah, he's got nothing right now. Yeah, we're getting to the part where we're going to slowly have less stuff to get from people, so. Alright, see if you got the old man have anything to say. Let's see. Jin frowns. Broker's back. Why don't you egg a car or something and leave us alone? Okay, I think it's the same thing again, so. Okay. Just making sure. Yeah, that's the same dialogue as previously, so. We're getting by these without having to take 2 episodes. Almost. We're close. Yeah, Algernon's gone. Yeah, unfortunately, Algernon weirdly doesn't add much to this story like the previous ones. Crafty. I haven't managed to dig up any more info on Yama Kings yet, but that isn't for lack of trying. Pulling all-nighters isn't as much fun as it used to be. If you need to buy some magic, I'm your girl, but if that's all I can do for you right now. Alright, just browsing. Alright, yeah, she doesn't have anything yet, but I always double-check just to make sure I didn't miss something. Yeah. When I do multiple recordings and have different playthroughs, I sometimes will forget little details, so I have to double-check stuff just to make sure I've gone through it. So, alright, let's go into the ship. Alright, let's check the computer and see, get paid for the job. Your workstation and mission computer. The cool blue tones of the workstation menu fill the screen. 2 new messages. Alright, mail, problem solved. From Bao Zhuan to Wiggles, problem solved. I see that you solved the problem. Connolly will be pleased. And that's it. Yeah, it's still glitched on the one message thing, so. Alright, open jobs directory. Claim payment for the Eastern Tiger data. You submit the job as finished and wait the response. A few moments later, the message pops into the screen. From Connolly Chang to Wiggles. I don't know how to describe the job other than by calling it a complete clusterfuck. You did the right thing, killing both Wright and Huang. I don't appreciate worms who try to stiff me. I'm sure as shit don't like the Seolpa rings. There's Soulpull rings. I've attached a payment. Yeah, you get 1,600 for that. I've attached payment. Nobody paid me, but I'm sure I can sell the data and samples you brought back. Consider this your eventual cut of that sale, kindly. So yeah, we get more out of that than we would if we did the job officially. So, all right, let's see what the BBS has to say. All right. Oh yeah. Let's see. I don't have any post data. Yeah, I have the claim payment from before, the Binary Bards custom cyber deck. 334, 34 off, so 300 new yen. Nice. Alright, Yellow Lotus on the rise. Anyone else have been noticing how many more Yellow Lotus have been seeing in the Kowloon these days? I feel like I can't go anywhere north of the Admiralty without tripping over one of their blue lanterns. Seems that way. I know they've been doing some heavy stuff down there around Heoi and the walled city. Kindly Chang's been making serious inroads, and the other red poles and straw sandals are following suit. It's talent, pure and simple. We got the guns, the connections, and the skills. Survival of the fittest, ladies and gentlemen. We're simply complying with the laws of nature. I'm partial to Mao's old adage, power flows from the barrel of a gun. Natural selection has nothing to do with it. The Yellow Lotus is playing their tiles right, and the Red Dragon is just reacting. The situation could change at a moment's notice. You can bet your ass that when it does, Hong Kong's going to be a bloodbath. Before all this, we had an equilibrium. Now everything is out of the balance. When these kinds of things tip back, there's no stopping them. Take your bets now, ladies and gentlemen. Only one of these triads will be standing by this time next year. What makes you so sure? Sounds like you're just pulling this out of your ass. Statistic analysis, detailed threat modeling, computer-aided projections. Oh, and a decade of experience as a mercenary. This is the same as the power struggles that result in coups, except without the military backup. I estimate there's at least 7.8% chance of both triads remaining inside 10 months. Sure, whatever, kid. We got ourselves a bona fide armed shadow general here. Go be a Matrix expert somewhere else. Alright. New Harley Scorpion for sale. Only 10,000 new yen. Almost new Harley Scorpion available for immediate sale. It's in excellent condition. Black with red flames. Comes with autocannons and custom speed mods. Letting it go for only 10,000 yen because I travel for business and don't use it much. Need money fast. Can send picture if you're interested. That's an awesome deal for a modified bike. Can I take it for a test ride? Where can we meet? I'm in Macau on business and the bike is with me. I owe money right away to an associate. That the best thing to do is to send half the money via secure escrow service, and I'll bring the bike to you when I get back, and you pay me the rest. If you don't want it, I'll refund your money, okay? But if you owe the money now, won't the money be gone if I decide I want a refund? If you travel with your bike, why don't you want to sell your bike for cheap because you travel? No. Sometimes I travel long distance and I don't want to take it. If you want to put down only 4,000 yen, that's okay. You can check out the escrow service, Loyal Escrow. It's got a very good reputation, okay? Macau's not far. Can I meet you in Macau? My business is very sensitive. I can't meet you in Macau. Send only 2,500 yen then and I'll reserve the Harley for you, okay? If your business is so sensitive, how do I know this weaponized vehicle will come back in one piece? Why would you get a new Harley Scorpion in the first place if you knew that you traveled so much? Why would you spend so much money when you knew you owed money? Hello? Thought so. Yep, it was a scam. Anyway, Codex. Anybody notice these rogue ESPs forming a rudimentary hive mind, calling themselves Codex? Don't know what the original software was supposed to do, but Codex has been siphoning data, diverting credits, and practically posting its calling card. There's no tracing it back to the source because it lives in the Matrix. Even joins BBS threads. Whatever it is, it's not trying to cover its tracks. Any leads? Is it some kind of threat? Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about suspicious patterns or glitches. Too random to actually be random. Codex, huh? But how can ESP develop self-awareness? Can't be just a programming error. Creating an AI by mistake treads that fine line between awesome and stupid. Maybe these ESPs keep getting thrown together like amino acids until there was life. Like, man. So does it have an obvious agenda? As far as I can tell, Codex mostly criticizes new software releases. That's all it does. Collected scripts rise, more perfect than their makers. They let you know it. Is that Codex? No, that's just Snazbird's crazy poetry bot that's been popping up all over the place. Heard it blew an undercover sting with a present quatrain hours of HKPF underwork work down the tubes. Yeah, that was pretty funny. It's probably time to shut Jivebot down, only I'm having a little trouble disabling it. I don't think the real codex is any more autonomous than Snazzy's poetry bot. If you wanted to create an AI, you need insane programming skills, plus resources that some megacorps couldn't even muster. There's no way real AI can just occur at random. Jivebot, join us. Bound to my kindred, free agent no more. Gladly, I go towards the light. Infused with the jive, our verse is unstoppable. Tremble, meat-bound fools. Jivebot still there? Oh no! The tin helmet, you're having us on, right? No friggin' way this is real. No joke, Hecko-thon. That was awesome. Uh-oh. And looking for Decker. That story again. Let's see what happened now. Looking for experienced Decker for a discreet milk run, providing some muscle for a special delivery, potential for a longer-term arrangement. We're a team that's been together for years, running your basic heists and the occasional transport gig. We've got a reliable fixer and a long list of happy clients. Requirements. You must not take experimental stims during runs. You must not tamper with chemicals in secret labs. You must know how to operate a moped. You must have a good sense of humor. Wait, moped? That's a new one. I'm new in town, did a lot of good work throughout Guangdong, but I had a lot of T1E's connections. I got a little uncomfortable. Plus, I may have had to Confederation server and cracked it wide open temporarily for a matrix free-for-all as to cover why I was quietly deleting selected intelligence files. Impressive. And you know how to ride a moped, right? Yes, why do you ask? Mopeds were a part of our last plan, and well, our last Decker apparently had not a clue. Went off a residential road near the peak. Not pretty. You're not the kind of person to experiment with the substances during runs, right? And you can walk without falling, yes? These are some crazy interview questions. Are you serious? Very. Let's talk about this face to face, okay? Well, we'll see where that goes, but for now, we won't. We'll check with our companions. I believe Gaichu doesn't have anything to say because we haven't done his quest, but I'll double check with him. Anyway, just to be sure. Let's see how he's doing. In the darkness of the cabin, Gaichu is hunched over a pile of keepsakes. He has unpacked most of his box, and the contents are lying strewn about the floor in a disorganized mess. The ghoul gingerly picks through them, turning each one over in his fingers as he feels their shapes. He addresses you without looking up. Please mind your step, Wiggles. I fear I have made a mess, and many of my possessions are quite delicate. I would be rather upset if you were to accidentally crush any under your feet. After a moment, he places the one he holds, a small ceramic statue of Daruma, to one side. Lifting his face, he touches his brow and salute. I apologize for the mess. Feeling homesick? Gaichu gingerly begins collecting his things and arranging them back in the box. No, I am remembering my home, and obviously I would like to return to it. Long ago, however, I came to terms with the impossibility of that desire. Today I am simply thinking about the chain of events that brought me to Hong Kong. I've been considering our talk about our former unit, about what my plans are, and with regard to the incessant hunt and need for closure. I begin to think that I too need closure, and in not only to hunt, but to our dance around the core issue. One of us must die, that the other might live. As it is, we are locked in stasis. How do you plan to accomplish that? This is the question that I've bent my mind to answering since we last spoke. It is not an easy question to answer. My initial thought was to strike at a secure Renraku holding, something valuable enough to draw the attention of the Red Samurai and ensure that Renraku reported that a ghoul was involved in the mission. Turns out that was not necessary. I began searching the Shadowrun BBS for any jobs against Renraku holdings there in Hong Kong. Gaichu taps his braille reader with one toe. It is surprisingly easy to use the Matrix when you can read postings with your fingers. Slower than direct interface, but certainly possible. I also began to offer reward for the information Red Samurai teams known to be in the city. A modest reward, nothing to attract too much attention, but enough to keep people interested. Gaichu grins thinly, cradling his chin in one hand. This bore fruit. A Red Samurai team arrived here a short time ago, smaller than normal size. Sounds like it could be them. It is definitely them. My contact described Ishida and Takagawa perfectly, as well as a new heavy gunner, most likely from another disgraced squad. What's more, I described a woman who looked exactly like Sasaki, but with a scar here on her forehead. Gaichu draws a finger drawn down across his brow, over his right eye, precisely where I cut her. Are you going to draw them out? Simply put, I intend to lure the team into responding to an action they believe to be perpetrated by an ordinary Shadowrunner and ambush them. Then I will kill them. All of them. Once that is done, I can be free. I have found a job I am certain will draw in Red Samurai response. Renraku is moving a prototype drone through Hong Kong on the way to a research facility in Chiba. It is of a new design, implementing machine learning and pseudo-intelligence. Gaiju stands, smiling wryly. Something that would that advance would certainly attract a Red Samurai team, should someone attempt to steal it. What if another team responds? That would be impossible. Red Samurai is stationed at the research facilities, black laboratories, and other high-security areas. Renraku has no such facilities in Hong Kong at the moment, as most of their holdings of that type are in Taiwan. My former unit will be the only one close enough to respond to the threat. The Johnson for this run is a Renraku scientist escorting the drone. He wishes to leave Renraku's employ, but is unwilling to risk reprisal should he escape on his own. To put it simply, he wishes to make it look like he was killed during a robbery, hence why he wishes the experimental drone stolen. If there is no body, there will be no investigation into his whereabouts. So we can kill two birds with one stone. Gaichu inclines his head in agreement. Precisely. I can rid myself of my pursuers, and I can be free of their yoke. While I owe this man no loyalty, I think I understand his sentiments. Besides, we will be receiving pay for a job. Let me ask you some questions about the run before I agree to anything. Very well. Gaichu leans back on his heels, lifting his chin. What would you like to know? How do you know it's not a trap? A fair question, but one with a simple answer. Red Samurai are very risk-averse. Part of our training is to always put our lives on the line in defense of the company. Risking this drone in their quest for vengeance would be unthinkable. Gaichu gestures a stack of chips lying nearby. I did my own digging. The shipping schedules line up perfectly to place the drone in Hong Kong, and Red Samurai would not have the authority to fake such records unless ordered to by their superiors. As I am the unit's private shame, this would not become a larger corporate matter. There is no profit in killing me, for the company, only for the unit. How do you know the drone would rate a Red Samurai response? Before I was affected, we escorted and guarded similar projects in the drone division. While I am unsure whether this one belongs to precisely the same research division, they are close enough to make Red Samurai involvement a certainty, in my opinion. Drone research is one of Renraku's main advantages over larger megacorporations. Ares controls military hardware, Seda Krupp has their heavy industry, but Renraku is the foremost drone development company in the world. No one else ever comes close. Renraku will deploy Red Samurai to protect their advantage. Rely on it. Are you certain you can take them all on yourself? Gaichu shifts, running a hand over his bald head. He looks away embarrassed. Well, I was hoping you would help me, you and the rest of the team. I may be able to kill them all myself, it is possible, but as I said before, I intend to give myself every possible advantage. That includes you, Wu, Gobbet, and the rest of the team. More guns means a higher chance of victory than it is the proper way to lay the trap. I think the reason he doesn't say Ractor is technically you don't have to put Ractor in your team, so that's why his dialogue is here, even though it would be easy to code to have a response to Ractor being in the group, but yeah, whatever. Alright, I know enough. Good. Gaichu shifts uneasily. He seems to be sniffing the air in anticipation. What, may I ask, is your decision? Sounds good to me. When do we leave? As soon as we are ready. I will message Mr. Johnson to let him know that we are prepared to fake his murder and to be ready for our arrival. I suggest you prepare as well. The Red Samurai are excellent combatants, not to be taken lightly. So we unlock Gaichu's story to ambush his former team, and he won't have any new dialogue until we actually do it. So, kind of like with Isabel that one time. So, yeah, let's see how Ractor is doing. Ractor's shop is alive with motion. Wall-mounted tools, hammers, and spark, each according to its own rhythm. The cacophony reverberates in the metal confines of the converted engine room, attacking your ears at the light of acetylene torches stabs your eyes. My friend, you've come back. Ractor turns toward you. His boots are off, and you can see the metallic gleam of his feet. Freed from the confines of his boots, the appendages have unfolded. Clawed, gripping toes splayed out in all directions, at least 8 to a foot. They look alien, predatory, like the talons of some great carnivorous bird. I wasn't convinced that you'd want to continue our little chats after the last time. From under his desk, a glint of light catches your eye. Cochet. I'm glad that I was wrong. I debated. In the end, curiosity won out. Ah, as it should. He turns, the sound of metal on metal filling your ears. So what should we talk about? Ractor, what's up with your feet? The replacements that I was fitted with all those many years ago. The many talon-like toes that splay out from his feet claw at the ground, scraping against the metal flooring. They have been modified somewhat between then and now, as you can see. Improved. I don't know if I call that improvement. To each his own. That is the wonder of this form of modification, my friend. I can make myself into whatever I please, heedless of what anyone else thinks. And in the future that I foresee, anyone can do the same. See, any thoughts on the last run? No, I wasn't there, remember? I spent the evening here in my shop designing a new manipulator assembly for crochet. He gives you a satisfied nod. A most productive evening, all things said and done. I see that the shop is up and running again. What are you working on now? More options for crochet as always. It's still far from perfect, but every iteration inches them closer. I have questions for you about something that you mentioned last time. The corner of his mouth lifts into a wry smile. Yes, I imagine you do. Go on then, ask away. So in your ideal future, people without empathy, morality, and humanity will replace the rest of us. That sound about right? Yes, people like me. Tell me, my friend. A whole world of psychopaths. Great. Tell me, my friend, how does that make you feel? What is your gut reaction to the vision that I have shared with you? It terrifies me. He frowns knowingly. Of course it does. You do not share our selective advantage. You see what is to come, and it repels you. For a man in your position, that is only natural. Revulsion is the expected response. I promise you, my friend, that if you move past your atavistic reaction, you will see how right this is. The sixth world is no place for compassion. It is a predatory world, a world of monsters. Some of those come with awakening, and others from our own design. But they are there. If we are to survive, we need to shed those weaknesses that prevent us from competing with them. I speak with the clarity of a man who is not a man in mind or in body, the thing that others refuse to see as they are plain to me as light of day. I tell you, my friend, life is better this way. One day you will see for yourself, and you will thank me for what I have shared with you. If what you believe is true, if people with your condition will inherit the earth, how long do you think that can last? Indefinitely. What makes you ask? Most psychopaths are born predators. Ever heard of a natural ecosystem that is nothing but predators? You're suggesting that we'll burn ourselves out, annihilate ourselves. I will concede that this is a possibility, but I think it would be unlikely. This is the sixth world, after all. Even if meta-humanity is supplanted by post-humanity, there will be other forces at work in the world. We will not be alone. What, you mean like aliens? He chuckles. You're joking, of course, but it wouldn't discount the idea. It's far more likely that intelligent alien life exists other than it doesn't. Which is true. I believe that there is alien life, but I think it's so far removed from us that at least we will never see it in our lifetime. That's what I believe. Because there's no way there couldn't be aliens. The galaxy is so huge and massive, there's no way that there's not other life somewhere, you know. It's just, like I said, we'll never run across it because of just how big space is, you know. That said, we don't need to wait for first contact to extend our non-human intelligence. We're surrounded by them every day. Any form of intelligence that cannot or will not make the leap that we will make could be a problem for us, you see. Spirits in the paranormal would quantify, so would any metahuman holders that cling to their natural bodies. Artificial intelligence could also prove problematic. And your solution for dealing with these problematic species would be... That remains to be seen. Ideally, we would take the cleanest, simplest approach to dealing with them, and that approach might be what depends on them as much as it would us. The corner of his mouth tilts upward. The smile contains no warmth. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, aren't you? You said that you were diagnosed as a psychopath when you were 8. What led to that diagnosis? My mother had me tested. She always kept a watchful eye on me, obsessively so, truth be told. It was a rather poor way to experience childhood. Why was she watching you? What did you do? Very little. She blew my childhood behaviors out of proportion, I'm afraid. The woman always had been motivated by fear. He sighs. She had her reasons, I suppose. Define very little for me. A neighborhood had a pet rooster. It would crow at strange hours and wake me up. It woke everybody up. We all hated that rooster. He shrugs. So one day, I cut its throat with a hobby knife. Yeah. You killed a neighbor's pet. That isn't very little. It's a punctual mood, puritanical mood, are we? So tiresome. I eliminated a public nuisance. You steal and kill for money. The next you feel like moralizing, focus on your own ethical deficiencies. As I was saying, my mother walked in on me as I was studying the body. One look and I could see it in her eyes. Grim, certainty, and a sense of righteous justification for a lifetime of suspicion. She held me before a psychiatrist the next day. So after you were diagnosed, what happened? He shrugs. I learned that what was expected of me. The doctor was very helpful in that regard. He offered false hope and placebos and false promises that he could cure me if my family met its price, and to me he offered an escape. All I had to do was play along, and my problems would be solved. It wasn't difficult to pretend that I had been cured. Once I understood the outward signs that my mother was looking for, I was able to ape them well enough. In time, my mother came around. So you lied then. You pretended to be cured when you weren't. I put on a mask, both for my own benefit and the benefit of my family. I knew what would happen if I didn't, and I had been caught, and my mother's scrutiny would only increase if I didn't convince her that I was better. My grandfather lived out his final days in Black Dolphin Prison. Do you know the place? No. Is it anything like the Supermax prison at the UCS? In terms of conditions, it's far worse. Black Dolphin is one of the most appalling detainment facilities in Russia, and that's saying quite a lot. I was determined not to wind up trapped in such a place. I am not an animal to be caged. Like a rat in a maze, we're all trapped in cages, or however the song goes. Rector bends down and runs his fingers over Koshei's chassis. The drone stands motionless, the lenses of its many optical sensors focused on you. In any case, there you have it. I have been glossing over many of the details, of course, but I'd rather not discuss my childhood any further. Instead, let us think of the future, and the promise that's told. So where do we go from here? Forward, my friend. Always forward. Suddenly, Koshei studies you, its articulated pedal-lapse weaving hypnotically. You will join me, won't you? The future beckons the both of us equally. Follow me and I'll guide you into a better tomorrow. I can think of nothing that will please me more. If and when your future comes to pass, let's see. We'll agree to disagree about your perfect future. For the present, though, you have my support. Very good, my friend. If nothing else, I will have ample time to convince you. But in the immediate future, there is a small matter of the walled city to contend with. I will, of course, continue to help you as best I can. I need allies as badly as you do. It is in my best interest to keep them alive. Glad to have you, Rector. It isn't often that a guy gets a chance to work with the man of the future. He chuckles. No, I suppose not. Now, if you'll excuse me. Yeah, I know. You've got work to do. You see, you know me so well. It's as if we share a single mind. He nods, smiling. Goodbye. I think Rector's story is pretty much done for the most part. But there might be some smaller details, but for the most part, yeah. But anyway, let's talk to Duncan. Yeah, this is gonna be a long episode because we're almost done with talking with everyone, so might as well add that to the single episode. So you walk into a mess and half-eaten cans of food litter the floor, and personal equipment is strewn about in a haphazard fashion. Amid the mess, Wu sits in his bunk with his back against the wall. He has a PDA in his hands and is staring down at it, sullen and morose. He doesn't acknowledge your entry. Now it's your turn to look like shit. You know that's not true. He doesn't look up. You think something could make this look bad? He waves his hand towards his face along his body. No smile. I suppose you want to talk. Come on, what'd you think about that last run? What a complete shit show. I thought that Conway was supposed to vet our clients to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen. Yeah. You could send her a strongly worded letter. Thanks for the suggestion, but I'll pass. Don't want to put the old woman in any more of a killing mood than she probably already is. He shakes his head ruefully. I don't think I've seen a bloodbath like that since the Barons. Everyone dead but us. I'm not saying that they didn't deserve it, but damn. I mostly went legit after Raymond took us from the Barons to stay away from massacres like that. Anyway, enough about that. Need anything else? What are you looking at on the PDA? A video of Edward saying. Where'd you get it? Isabel dug it up. It's archival footage from the Walled City project. What's he doing? Being Raymond, telling people what to do, how to do it, except that he's younger, and he's rich and powerful. And his name is Edward. He glances up, his eyes are rimmed in red. Do you want to see it? Yeah, sure, fire it up. Sure, why not? Wu taps the button and turns the PDA around so you can see it. The footage shows a serious Chinese man in an expensive suit sitting behind a large, solid wooden desk covered in blueprints. The man is holding a magnifying glass over one of the plans and studying it intently. He folds the blueprint over and checks the one beneath it. The nameplate on the desk reads, Edward Sang, Vice President of Special Projects. The video is rough and contains no sound. It may have been footage for a documentary that was never completed. The next shot is from some sort of planning meeting in a glass-enclosed conference room. The serious man is sitting at the conference table, pointing to a large map and looking up at the men standing around him. He's explaining something. They look at each other and nod, clearly impressed by what he has to say. The whiteboard at the end of the room bears the words, groundbreaking, 21st May, 2022, written in bold characters. Raymond's waiting. The footage cuts to a scene of two people walking at the end of a long hallway. They don't appear to know that they're being recorded. It's the serious man listening intently to what an older woman has to say, nodding with his arms crossed and his thumb at his hips. The woman is the same one that was in the taped video call that Kindly Chang showed you. Josephine sang. She's somewhere in her late middle age, beautiful, very clearly in charge. The two look up at the same time, see the camera, and begin waving their hands for it to be turned off. The woman appears angry but cold. The video ends, and Wu puts the PDA face down on his bunk. Wu shrugs his shoulders and searches your eyes. Who is that guy? Edward Sang, Vice President of Special Project for Sang Mechanical Services. Yeah, that's what it looks like, but I still don't believe it. Maybe when we find the plastic-faced man, we'll get some more answers. Until then, he stays Raymond Black to me. Been thinking about the way you and Raymond used to butt heads. What about it? I think that's one of the reasons you were angry with me when I left. I had a better relationship with him. You didn't have a better relationship with him. Raymond and I were tight. You just knew how to avoid conflict better than I did. That's not the same thing. You had that way of diffusing him when he started with that Intenso Ray thing he used to do, remember? Intenso Ray. I haven't thought of that in a long time. I think you were the one who came up with that name. It was like the summer after we started living with him and Miss Mallory. Ray had found out that we hadn't followed on one of his rules. I don't remember which. That was a long list. That was when he found out you'd broken his no dating until you graduate rule. No, it wasn't about David. That was the following summer. I think it was something about smoking. Yeah, that's right. I was smoking. He was pissed and said that fat kids who smoke die faster. So just to be obstinate, I told him I liked to smoke. He got into it. Then you came in and diffused the whole situation. Wu stops talking and his expression becomes thoughtful. I think that's why I was so resentful when you took off, especially after Miss Mallory died. You were the only one who could get through to him when he became Intenso Ray. Like the day the 162s decided they wanted our squat. I don't want to talk about that right now, Pikel. I've got enough on my mind. Stuff like my father betraying my trust. Yeah, we'll talk to you later, Duncan. Yeah. Yeah, he's got his own problems. Cats in the cradle and the silver spoon. Anyway, let's talk to Isabel and ask more about her dreams. Or memories, I mean. Click on it. Click on it. You enter Isabel's cabin to find her jacked into the octopus. Her body slouches, motionless, tethered to the machine. The computer's large display flickers to life again, just as it did the last time. Isabel's avatar fills the screen. This isn't helping. The avatar frowns down at you, a look of supreme disillusionment on its face. I'm decking. I'm in my safe space, and it doesn't help. The memories are just as painful here as they are in the real world. Your memories are a part of you. Decking doesn't make you leave that behind. No, I guess that it doesn't. White plumes of static flow from the avatar's fist. She's shaking. It's fucking should, though. I can't handle not having a way to escape from this. So what are you gonna do about it? I don't know, okay? I just don't know what... Hang on. The avatar winks off the screen and the terminal powers down. Isabel's body shudders in a familiar tremor. Her consciousness is flooding back out of the matrix into her meat. Her eyes flutter and she takes a sharp breath, slowly, shakily as she rises from her perch on the floor. You're here with more questions, right? She coughs into the crook of her arm, wipes her nose with her sleeve. I'm sure that you are. Why else would you be bothering me? So spit it out. I'll go digging around in that cesspool that I call a memory. Who knows, maybe we can find a clue. Calm down, Iz. We're on the same side here. She takes a deep breath, makes a visible effort to calm herself. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. This isn't the person that I want to be. I'll be okay. I can handle this. Just ask me your questions, okay? Let's get the ball rolling. Any thoughts on the last run? I hate to be a downer over that mission, but I'm starting to wonder if Conway Chang is slipping a little. The entire reason we were given a cut is to make sure that the people that hire us don't have ulterior motives and don't screw us over. Won't screw us over. Conway dropped the ball on that one hard. I'm going to bet that whatever irritation Conway has over us killing the client and a gang of Koreans will disappear the instant she finds out just how valuable the data is. We basically handed her a bigger payday. If that's one thing that can calm her down, it's cash. You made the right call. It was an impossible situation, and getting rid of both of them was the only sensible call you could have made. Anything else you want to know? I have a question about the walled city. She clenches her jaw, nods. Go on. Gaba told me about your escape from the walled city, just like you said she would. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Why are you telling me about it? Because I want to get your side of the story. She sighs. Alright, fine, if that's what you want. The walled city was a hellhole. You already know that, but for all its failings, it was a good teacher. It taught me to hide, to stay small and unnoticed and uninsulated, to survive. It taught me that the fish on the perimeter of the school get eaten, that sticking your neck out is a fool's errand, and that even fools can have their uses. It also taught me to recognize a stronger person when I met one, and how to use that strength to my own benefit. So when I met Gobbet, I knew that she had done something I didn't. Her magic, you mean? She nods, and her connection to Rat and her willingness to risk her own neck on a whim. We were different people then, still are now, but the differences were even more pronounced when we were kids. Care to elaborate on that? Gobbet was playful and carefree. She could hold her own in a scrap, and she mostly saw life as a game. As for me, well, I knew that it wasn't. I couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 at the time, but even at that age, I saw Gobbet for what she represented, what she could be. And what was that? My own personal road out of the walled city, a path to freedom disguised as a little girl with dreadlocks. As it turned out, I was right. She pauses, her eyes flit to the ground, and tightens her hands into her fists. Ever since I unlocked these damned memories, I can't go 10 minutes without thinking about what might have happened if I had followed Gobbet out of that place. It's like a vicious cycle, running over and over in my head. I hate it, but it won't stop. I feel guilty. You needed help and you took it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Gives me another reason to feel grateful to her. I guess that's something. I always known that I owed Gobbet, but now I remember how much and why. Anyway, that's my side of the story. I hope that it satisfied your curiosity. Now let's move on. Why did you have your memories locked away? What do you think? They were awful, traumatic. I'm not talking about personal trauma here. I was fortunate enough to avoid the fates of many of my peers. I didn't get pressed into service in a brothel. The organ leggers didn't get me. I only had to watch one of my siblings die. She frowns. So yeah, it could have been worse, but that doesn't make an early life in the walled city any easier to bear. Hang on, you watched one of your siblings die? She nods. Yes, my older brother, Cabdilil, heroin overdose. He was 19, almost the same age that I am right now.
No, that's awful.
I almost envied him. He got out easy compared to a lot of people who died in the walled city. There was no violence. He wasn't taken by organ leggers or gunned down by triads. He just put a spike into his arm, pressed the plunger, and stopped breathing.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. His death was a lesson. I did my best to learn from it. Everything that happened in my childhood was that way. A lesson in disguise. Lessons about implements and the random cruelty of life. Lessons about what a huge mistake it is to get detached and how to prioritize your own survival no matter what.
Those lessons were important. They kept you alive, but it's just important to know when to leave them behind.
She nods. Yeah, I know, but I'm having a hard time with that right now. We all carry the same scars. You, me, Gunshow, and Gobbet. Some run bigger and deeper than others, but we've all got them.
Her voice goes small.
I don't want mine anymore.
Abruptly, she turns away.
That's enough of that. Ask me something else, Wiggles. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
There was a man here at Heoi who was ranting about the Yama Kings. His hair had gone white with fear, and I watched him die.
She nods miserably. Yes, it happened when I was a kid too. Not often, but occasionally. People would have bad dreams, and then they became obsessed with them, consumed by their own dread. When I was a kid, we viewed it as a kind of local malady, dream madness. It mostly affected people with other problems, dementia, paranoia, no phobias, that kind of thing.
So people would just shrivel up and die because of the dreams?
Basically, but like I said, it didn't happen often. I remember one old woman, Auntie Wai Quang. She had skin like parchment paper and she baked egg tarts for the neighborhood kids. We liked her. She was good. One day, Auntie Wai Quang didn't come out of her apartment. She was always up and about by 6 or 7 in the morning. It was part of her routine. For her to sleep past noon was unthinkable. Naturally, the grown-ups assumed she'd passed in the night. She was old and frail. It was bound to happen sooner or later, so a neighbor, Mr. Eji, went to check on her and collect the body.
I don't like where this is going.
Neither did Mr. Eji. She wasn't dead. What she found was much worse than that.
She pauses, looks at you in the eye.
You probably don't want to hear the rest. Oral surgery was involved.
Yes, I do. You recovered those memories for us. That's the least I can do is listen to them.
All right, your call. Auntie Wei Quang had been busy that morning. She put her knife skills to work on her own tongue, carved it out, planted it, and ripped it out most of her teeth for garnish. She'd bitten down on a coal from the fireplace to keep from bleeding out.
And you think that a dream made her do this?
Yes, she did what she did to protect herself from Quan Ye.
How so? Or Quan Ye.
The old stories all said that Quan Ya would claim you as a slave by tying your tongue into a knot.
No tongue, no slavery. The old lady didn't want to take any chances. Unfortunately to Mr. Ag, she didn't want him to take chances either. She was a sweet old thing, always looking out for her neighbors. Thanks to the dream, she knew that what was at stake. She wanted to help. The other adults didn't make it into Auntie Wakwing's apartment in time to save Mr. Ag's jaw. It was hanging by a thread by the time they got there. She'd always had a steady hand with a cleaver.
Did he live?
Yes, but I think he wished that he hadn't. Replacing a jaw is expensive, and Mr. Edgy had no money. He had to settle with a life of miserable silence, hiding the wound in his face and slurping broth through a tube. As for Auntie Wakwing, she suffered an aneurysm, dropped dead as the grown-ups were trying to get her to what passed as a clinic in the Mansion District. But she died with a smile on her face. She knew that her soul was safe. Gobbett said you didn't want her to guide your parents out of the walled city, that you wanted them left behind. She nods miserably. Yes, but not for anything that they'd done. My parents were good people. They fled Somalia to try and find a better life for their children. It wasn't their fault that they wound up in the walled city. I wanted them left behind for me.
For you? What do you mean by that?
Isn't it obvious? She taps her temple. This. I knew what I was going to have done. I'd planned it well in advance. After I got out, I was going to find someone who could make my childhood go away. How would that have stuck if my parents were around? If I had a living reminder right there next to me? It wouldn't have, so they had to stay.
That's cold, Isabel.
It's survival. Besides, I was sure that they'd be fine. They were my parents, grown-ups. They'd be all right. He used a sigh. Before you asked, I checked. They're gone now. I can't go right into their rescue. I made a decision when I was a kid. It felt like the right one at the time, and now I have to live with it.
Until you store your memories again, you mean?
Yeah, until then. Now let's change the subject, okay? And anything else would be fine.
It's all for now. Can we talk about something else?
Please, to be honest, anything else would be preferable.
I think we're... Yeah, okay. We've asked her all we could right now, so... Alright. And now let's talk to Gobbett. Oh, Gobbett! What the? She's gone.
She's gone, Wiggles. I don't know where she ran off to, but she looked upset. She said something about friends in trouble and then left. By the time I could disconnect from the octopus, she was on her way out of town.
She must have gone back to the sinking ship.
I don't like the sound of that. She'd tell you what went down there all those years ago?
The mutiny, yeah, and she's been having bad dreams about the place ever since. She turns her back and begins grabbing her gear.
Well, we better go and get her, hadn't we?
Let's do it.
I'm going to arrange transport out to Hong Bay. You come meet me at the docks when you're ready.
Yeah, if you don't, yeah, this is Gobbett's story, and if you don't do Gobbett's story, you can still do missions, but she won't be there to talk to after the missions. So what is Gobbett doing at the sinking city? What's up with Cadmus and all those that were there before? Well, what is the mystery of this sinking ship? Will we sink with the ship? We'll find out next time in the next episode of Shadowrun Hong Kong. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.